Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Wednesday morning. We start our show with a thriller last night from U.S. Bank Stadium. The Bison playing the Gophers in baseball. It's a 4-2 Minnesota lead in the top of the eighth inning till Colton Becker changes that. Yeah, we're playing baseball inside the Viking Stadium, and the game is tied at 4. It would stay that way until the top of the 11th inning. Evan Gustafson at the plate with 2 on and hits a tank off the batter's eye in center field, a 3-run home run. That gives NDSU a 7-4 lead going to the bottom of the 11th inning. The team that has struggled this year. They came in 2-17 on the season. They would turn it over to Hudson Hart in the bottom of the 11th. Here he gets the final out on a line drive to center, and the Bison get a much needed and a really nice win over a Gopher team that came in at 15-5 on the year. 7-4 the final. Nice win for the Bison to get a Tuesday win. I know college teams don't throw their main guys, but the Bison get a win. So now they have 3 wins this season. One of them is over Vanderbilt on the road. Another over Minnesota on the road, as they've got the Jackrabbits coming up as they go back into Summit League play for the reigning Summit League Tournament champions. And with that, we say good morning, everybody, and welcome to Hot Mic here on a Hump Day Wednesday. Glad you're joining us here. The sun is out. Baseball weather is in the offing. It's going to be in the 40s today, 50s tomorrow, 60s by Friday. Let's go with the opening day just over a week out. And we'll get to the finale of the World Baseball Classic here in just a little bit. But congrats to Tyler Oaks' team on a hard-earned win. Gustafson hit with 2 home runs, 5 RBIs for the Bison yesterday. And facing off against Davis Hamilton, who was on the team last year, transferred. Now he plays for the Gophers. He had 2 hits against his old team last night for the Gophers against the Bison. So good win. And still, seeing U.S. Bank Stadium configured in baseball is still odd to me. They've done it forever since the stadium opened a decade ago, but it still looks a little different. Packed show coming up today. North Dakota State's men's basketball team has arrived in Buffalo. They got there early in the afternoon yesterday. Our team did as well at about 3 o'clock Central. The Bison will be on the basketball floor later today. Their press conference will officially begin about 10:45-ish Central Time, so we hope to pick up the end of that here on our show this morning to hear from some of the Bison players and Dave Richmond in Buffalo. Then they'll have their shoot-around, which is open to the public there in Buffalo at about 11:30 Central Time. Tom Izzo officially meets with the media after we're done. We'll have some snippets of that to play from Bison Pro Day tomorrow, so we'll look forward to that on the show and leading up to the game, which of course tips just after 3 o'clock tomorrow in downtown Buffalo. So that's coming up at the end of our program today. We'll set you up with that right out throughout the show. The Madness officially began last night with the first 4 games. Texas getting I wouldn't say buzzer beating, but last-second win over North Carolina State. And the Howard Bison beat UMBC. So we've got 2 Bison teams are actually in Buffalo. Howard will play Michigan later tomorrow night, and obviously North Dakota State is there to play Michigan State. As it were, the 2 Bison teams there in Buffalo, New York. Of course, that is have the own Bisons as the Buffalo Bisons, the AAA baseball team. So that's coming up later on in the show. Lot to get to today. We're on the eve of the two state tournaments tipping off. We'll preview each of them on our show today, both in Minot and in Fargo. The boys B going in Minot, the boys A at the Fargo Dome. We'll tease each of those tournaments with two teams that think they've got a chance to win them coming up later on in the show. But let's start on the hardwood with the Minnesota Timberwolves. We got the news yesterday. An ominous email that came from the Wolves. I'm on their email service. That's not a humble brag. It's just I like to figure out and stay clued in what's going on with the team. And we got an email yesterday. What time did this come out? At 12:15 yesterday. And the email title was Anthony Edwards Injury Update, which I did not want to open that. That doesn't sound good. And it said the Minnesota Timberwolves today announced the following injury update on guard Anthony Edwards. An MRI conducted by Dr. Craig Bennett at Mayo Clinic Sports Medicine on Edwards revealed right knee inflammation. Edwards will be reevaluated in 1 to 2 weeks, and further updates of his progress will be provided when available. We're at the end of the season here, folks. We've got 3 weeks left in the regular season. The Wolves, entering last night, have 14 games left. They are firmly in a battle to try and get as high a seed as possible and try and stay out of the play-in tournament. They've been in that plenty. Last couple years, they've avoided it. That's why they've had the run to the Western Conference Finals. Now they're going to be without their best player potentially for 2 weeks. And they're coming off, let's just say it, a bad road trip. They lost 4 of 5. They got waxed on a couple of them. They beat Golden State, and the Warriors were without Steph. They lost on national television on Sunday to Oklahoma City. So now they're home last night without Ant. Here come the Phoenix Suns, who are right behind them in the playoff chase, in the play-in chase, as it were. You need to see something out of Julius Randle, something out of Rudy Gobert. Well, they got it defensively from Rudy last night with a big-time block at the rim. That's what they need out of their main guy. Jaden McDaniels, they need him to step up. Floater in the lane. Suns were up 4. Now it's a 2-point Phoenix lead. Move to the third quarter. Randall drills a 3. Okay, that's what you need. Him get going. Drive from the foul line. Gets that to go. Makes it a 4-point lead. We pick it up now. Wolves are up 8 in the fourth. That is a beautiful spin and the foul. That's what you need. You need him engaged. You need him going to the basket and dominating. That's how they won in the playoffs last year. Certainly how they beat the Lakers and the Warriors. Step back there. He had 32. Timberwolves up by 15. It's a 12-point lead. Bones Highland to Ayo Dosunmu gets the basket. Wolves are up 12. Randall celebrates with his son. Minnesota wins it 116-104. Julius goes for 32 last night. McDaniels had 16. Dosunmu starting at 19. That trade has worked out in spades. Let's just call it like it is. And Ayo's going to have to be really good in this stretch when Ant isn't playing. Second straight 32 point. I mean, he saw something with Randall in the game against OKC on Sunday, even in a losing effort. So, the Wolves pick up their 42nd win of the year. That was game number 69. They have 13 to go. Everybody else won last night. The Rockets lost on Monday. But they have percentage points ahead of both Denver and the Wolves. All of them are 12 games back of OKC, who clinched a playoff spot last night, by the way. The Lakers are a game and a half up on both Houston, Denver, and Minnesota. The Wolves now are 3 up on Phoenix for the play-in. You don't want any part of that, so they're sitting okay there. The Clippers, Warriors, and Blazers going to battle it out. Who's going to be 8, 9, and 10? I mean, they still could finish as high as 3rd. Or they could finish probably as low as 6. If that's the case, the Wolves play the Lakers. I like that matchup. I do. I still think the Lakers are flawed. I don't like the Wolves against the Rockets. Something there with Kevin Durant does not sit well. Eric, you look up when you have a second. What's the Wolves' record against the Rockets this year? I don't think it's all that great. And Denver, we already know Right now, it doesn't look feasible. They could play Denver, but you want to stay away from Jokic, in my mind, as long as possible on that. And stay away from playing OKC and San Antonio as long as possible. So, good win last night. No rest for the weary. They got to come right back and play tonight against Utah. And this is a team, they've already lost to the Jazz. The Jazz are tanking. They're actively not trying to win games. So you cannot mess around with Utah. This is who they have left, by the way, Minnesota. Just trying to figure this out without Ant for at least the next week or two. The next two is Utah and Portland. They got to win those games at home. At Boston is going to be awfully difficult. That's an NBC game on Sunday. Then it's home for the Rockets. Ugh. Home for the Pistons. Ugh. At Dallas. Got to win that one. At Detroit. Tough. At Philly. Charlotte. They're good. At the Pacers. Horrible. At the Magic. They're good. At the Rockets. And then home for the Pelicans. That's not an easy schedule coming in. You still got 2 with Houston, 2 with Detroit, Boston in there, Charlotte. Those are playoff teams, and Orlando to wrap up the regular season. What do you got for me? What are the Wolves against the Rockets this year so far?
So they're 1-0, or they're 0-1, sorry, against the Rockets, but they lost 110-105, and then they play each other next Wednesday on ESPN, and then April 10th on Prime.
At the Rockets to wrap up. So they still haven't played them a whole lot. I just don't like how they match up with Houston, but that may be determining who they get in the opening round of the playoffs here between now and, again, the regular season ends April 12th. We're right around the corner from the end of the NBA regular season. All right, the other big thing, I just checked the score briefly of the Wolves. The big thing I was watching last night, and I think a lot of other people were as well, was the World Baseball Classic final in Miami last night between the United States and Venezuela. The United States beat the Dominican Republic on Sunday. Their offense had sputtered. They got some great pitching to win that game. The Venezuelans have been the stars of the tournament. They beat Japan on Saturday to get to the final. Then they beat the Italians on Monday to set up a matchup with the United States, thinking, well, okay, finally the U.S. bats are going to wake up, that Aaron Judge is going to do something, Kyle Schwarber is going to do something, Bryce Harper is going to do something. Well, if you tuned in and expecting a offensive bonanza, you got fooled there, because the Venezuelans threw a perfect game here. They led 1-0 in the fifth to Wilyer Abreu, who had a big home run against Japan, hits a big one off Nolan McLean from the New York Mets, and it's a 2-0 Venezuelan lead halfway through the game. Bottom of the sixth, 2 on. Aaron Judge of the plate grounds out to third, ends a threat. The United States is shut out through 6 innings. They're shut out through 7 2/3. Bryce Harper at the plate and sends us one deep to center and ties the game in the bottom of the 8th. The first time ever I've ever cheered for Bryce Harper, I'm sure for many others. A great bat. The game is tied at 2. It didn't stay tied for long. Garrett Whitlock was in pitching. Venezuela gets a base runner, an opening walk, and then steals a base barely. Eugenio Suarez at the plate from the Seattle Mariners. Blasts this one into the gap in left center. That's going to score the go-ahead run. That gives Venezuela a 3-2 lead in the top of the 9th. There's going to be plenty spoken about why Mason Miller didn't pitch. Get to that in a minute. Bottom of the 9th. Kyle Schwarber facing Palencia. Danny Palencia was the closer for the Cubs. 1 out. Gunnar Henderson pitch hitting for the Baltimore Orioles. Again, he's an all-star. Pops out to third. That's 2. The last hope is Roman Anthony, the star rookie for the Boston Red Sox. He strikes out. The Venezuelans beat the United States 3-2. The second consecutive World Baseball Classic. The United States loses by 1 run. And via strikeout was Ohtani striking out Mike Trout in 2023. Here, Palencia strikes out Anthony to end it. Congratulations. The Venezuelans played. I mean, if you looked at their coaching staff during the ceremony last night, Yohan Santana is there. Miguel Cabrera is there. I mean, those are two of the all-time greats. Both are going to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame in the not-too-distant future. I mean, their team has Acuna, Miguel Garcia, our guy Luis Arraez, Suarez, Gleyber Torres, Abreu, Salvi Perez. Eric's guy Jackson Churio plays for them. They're loaded. Maybe pitching-wise, not so much, but Rodriguez was great last night, went 4 1/3 and didn't allow a run. He allowed one hit. Bizzardo went 2 1/3. He's a really good pitcher. Former Met great Jose Butto is good in relief last night. Palencia, their closer, is an all-star. They're loaded. Congrats to them. The Americans, you saw, people are going to make a lot about the emotion that the Venezuelans played with and obviously showing what they won. And did the Americans care enough about it? I think they cared. They couldn't hit. They had 3 hits last night. You're not going to beat anybody in any level with 3 hits unless you get unbelievable pitching. And again, as I mentioned, much is going to be made. And Mark DeRosa, the manager of the American team, said when he was asked why Mason Miller, who's the all-star closer for the Padres, who pitched late on Sunday night's win against the Dominicans, was asked why he wasn't brought into the game last night in a tie game in the 9th inning. And he said, out of respect to the Padres, he said if the Americans were ahead, Miller would have been in the game. They weren't. It was tied. That means Garrett Whitlock pitched, and he was ineffective. Taylor Rogers had to come into the game to get the final 2 outs of the 9th inning. It's a great tournament, and honestly, I cannot wait. I hope we see it at the Olympic Games in L.A. in a couple years. What do you got? Would you watch that last night? Were you invested?
So I did watch it a little bit,
Yeah.
but and this is kind of the things that I've basically seen on social media. What happens if they get rid of the All-Star game and do this like mini tournament for 2 weeks? Because the All-Star game means nothing to these. Nobody cares about the All-Star game. Like, yeah, you're an All-Star. It's like the NFL Pro Bowl. Nobody cares. It's like, let's go start the season a week earlier, play maybe some doubleheaders or something, and then get 2 weeks off for this tournament because it would be so much better.
Yeah, Jason Stark floated the idea last week of having the preliminary round still in spring training, and then whoever advances, then you stop the season for a week and surround it around the All-Star game. Like you have the Futures game, the draft, then the Home Run Derby, the semifinals, or the quarterfinals, however you want to do it, then the All-Star game, the semis, the championship. To me, that seems like a no-brainer idea. Probably baseball won't do it because it makes too much sense. Or to Eric's point, you have to do it again. If they learned anything from hockey, which the Four Nations deal was amazing last year, and then it was capped off by what the Olympics were. Baseball has the opportunity to do this as well. I hope they capitalize on it because I think there's only 6 nations that are going to play in the Olympic tournament. You can have more in the World Baseball Classic. Do you do it every year? Maybe not. Maybe every 2. But, man, that was some great baseball. And, again, a reminder, I don't know if we're the best baseball country in the world. We haven't won it now the last couple. Japan won it before this one, and Venezuela is now the World Baseball Classic champs. It was great theater. I hope people watch. I think the ratings on it will be pretty darn good, even against the opening of the March Madness last night. We got a lot to get to here on a busy Wednesday. Again, we'll check in Buffalo. Press conference is about to get underway for the first game between Louisville and South Florida. That's coming up at the end of the show. Our guest lineup today brought to us by Northwestern Mutual. Our guy Drew Trafton will join us in just a few minutes. I'm sure he can gloat even more on one of his Mariners getting the game-winning hit last night. We'll chat some NFL as well coming up with Drew in just a few minutes. 9:35, we'll get our Class B preview. We met the team from Central McLean yesterday. The number 2 seed are the Ray Jays. Michael Bergstrom back with us. We had him on in late February. He texted me after they won the region championship on Thursday night, say, I'm ready to come back on your show because the Ray Jays are going to state. He'll join us at 9:35. And at 10 o'clock, Matt Norman is back with us, the head coach of the Central Cass Squirrels. They are the 2 seed in the Class A tournament that begins at the Fargo Dome tomorrow. They'll play the first game against Turtle Mountain. They won the last Class B before we went to 3 classes in 2023. Now they'll make their Class A debut coming up tomorrow afternoon. So we'll chat with Matt coming up at 10. That, your emails, and a heck of a lot more to get to here on a busy Wednesday morning. So we'll take our first break. When we come back, much more on that trade that went down yesterday with the Broncos and the Dolphins and a heck of a lot more. We're glad you're joining us. Back on Hot Mic right after this.
The biggest Seahawks, Sounders, and Mariners fan in the FM area. It's time for Views with Drew.
I've already been scooped on this that Suarez is with the Reds again?
He is.
I thought he was with the Mariners last year.
Last year
I
he
missed
was.
that.
Yeah.
Did he just sign?
It was they got him at the deadline
Right.
from the Diamondbacks, or a little bit before that. They got that one done before they got Josh Naylor done, or no, they got Naylor done then Suarez done. But they he's a great guy though. Like Eugenio Suarez is like the ultimate locker room presence. And he struggled last year with the Mariners, but he had these huge moments, like these titanic moments in the postseason.
Big time hits, yes.
You know, where he brought them back from the dead in the ALCS.
Yes.
Like he did, you know, he's always a team favorite. I went to a Mariners Twins game in his first stint with the Mariners where he hit like 2 home runs in the game, and I've never seen a dugout explode like they did. You know, he's just like, you could tell he's just so popular with his teammates, and good on him, and congratulations to Venezuela. That's pretty cool.
Did you watch any of this tournament?
I didn't. No, I don't know why. I don't know why. I just don't get up for the World Baseball Classic, and I don't know if it's because I'm just not mentally there with baseball yet. You know,
some are not. Yeah.
You know, in some years I do get really into spring training, and you know, and getting hyped for it. And opening day is one of my favorite days of the year.
Absolutely.
But I just wasn't there, you know, and maybe it was like Super Bowl hangover this year. I don't know. Like it was just like I just wasn't there.
I will say I was not invested till he got to the knockout round, and then I was in, and when it's best on best like that, let's go. Now,
you know what's cool too is just how much those, especially the Latin American countries, care about it. The South American countries.
That Marlins
really
ballpark has never had a crowd like that. They had 35,000 there, and it was loud. That stadium has been open, I think, for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And they've never had a crowd like that.
Yeah, and the players, like they even say, you know, it's like, I care about this more than winning
the World Series, which will ruffle feathers there for some. But
yeah, for sure it will. And you know, I'm sure they'll get back to their.
But like Sally Perez was interviewed by Ken Rosenthal, who's won a World Series with the Royals, and said this would be bigger. And he says, no, that's not a offense to Kansas City, but to my country and what I came from, what we've come from, this would be a much bigger deal.
Where they return to.
And you can't ignore the political overtures of this either, of what's going on. You just can't.
Yeah, it's a massive win for Venezuela. And getting back, I mean, those guys go back in the offseason, and they do so much work in their communities. Some of them play winter ball in their, in their home nations. And so it's, you know, like they're very tied into it. I mean, much more so than athletes of other sports, I think. And that's even with the lengthy baseball season, you know, which I mean, that you see a lot of that, even with soccer and sports like that, where they play 9-10 months out of the year, those guys aren't going home a lot of the time, you know, in between.
It's a big deal. And it was fun to watch. I hope they modify it and put it in the middle of the season, because then there's no idea. Then there's no restrictions on guys to go, because every manager, especially the American manager, was hamstrung by, I don't want my all-star closer getting
of course you don't.
burn out before the season even begins, because San Diego thinks we've got a great shot to make the playoffs, maybe win the National League West. Nolan McLean started 2 games. He might be the Mets' ace this year, and he's still a rookie.
Yeah.
That I find that, okay, I want him to be amazing for the Mets, all year. I don't want him burning his best stuff in March when we're going to need him in September.
Yeah,
you know?
And maybe I like the idea of doing the prelims still, before the season starts.
Jason Stark had that idea. I think it's really good.
Just do a single elimination knockout or something like that, where it's like really, really high stakes. Like that'd be kind of interesting too.
All right, so yesterday, I admit you're a way better NFL mind than I am. So the trade went down when the Broncos-Dolphins deal.
Boy, that was an eye-opener.
So that's why I was saying, is that a lot that the Broncos gave up for Jalen Waddle?
Yeah, and I was talking with
first-round pick.
Robert Pointer about this because it was
Bobby's
a first-round pick.
I'll trust his.
I think it was a third-rounder as well for Waddle and a fourth, and then there's a fifth attached to it too. Whew. And the best thing I saw yesterday that made that kind of make sense in my mind was that obviously the Broncos are picking late in the first round. And from what I've heard, like this isn't like a great wide receiver draft for if you're looking for like an X guy,
Bryce Lance might be moving up the draft board.
Right, because he's got that speed that makes him, separate there. And I saw this I can't remember who tweeted it out, but it was NFL rosters by age. And I guess I had always just with how that Denver team has come together, I was thinking they were younger than they are, but they're actually a top 5 oldest roster in the league. And so I was like, okay, I could see where maybe their window's actually a little smaller than a lot of people think.
Yeah.
And it's like, and so they're trying to get that guy. And you saw DJ Moore, was traded for quite a bit, to Buffalo. And you've seen these guys move. AJ Brown's apparently that's going to be a post June 1st trade.
Yep.
It looks like. And so if you want that, that solidification, I think that makes sense that they were able to do that. And to Denver, who has a pretty established roster.
And they have a quarterback on a rookie contract still, so you can do that.
And everybody has been talking about how not great this 2026 draft is. Yeah. It's like 2026 draft capital, maybe a third this year is kind of like a fifth, or later. So it's like, I'm not going to sweat over giving up multiple picks. We need to get the guy in the building. And so I think that's kind of what they were going for. And it's interesting. I mean, I think 2027 draft capital is going to be worth way more. Where we could see maybe like an AJ Brown trade, like after this, after June 1st or, designated June 1st, that then the package is smaller because that's considered to be so much more valuable.
Am I supposed to get excited then in 27? The Jets have 2 first-rounders in 27.
Yeah, that first round
we're going to mess up 26, so maybe we can make 27.
And I kind of am curious. The Raiders have so many first-round picks this year, and it's like, did they try to move out to get leverage next year? So many teams are stockpiling picks for next year. So many teams. Seattle has 12 picks next year with comp formula right now. Ooh. It's they're not great picks, but you can package those together.
It's the quantity of them you have.
And so many of those teams that are quarterback hungry, and it's like obviously the Jets, they're not moving heaven and earth with Geno Smith. So that's a year, a bridge to your next guy.
The Jets have had a bridge quarterback for 40 years.
I know.
40 years. Just once. No, I can't say that. I'm slighting my guy, Chad Pennington. Pennington was my guy.
Yeah.
And Vinny Testaverde was my guy.
Vinny was awesome.
And Sanchez was my guy for about 3 years.
Yeah.
But since then,
he had a good run. Two title games.
List the starting quarterbacks the Jets have had since Mark Sanchez.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
It's do. Yeah.
It's brutal. Pro Football Focus, before we go here, put a latest mock out. In the third round, the 70th overall pick, they have the Cleveland Browns taking Cole Payton from North Dakota State.
That's interesting.
That is the highest I've seen.
Yeah.
The third round.
Yeah.
Now, tomorrow is Pro Day, which, granted, the hay is pretty much in the barn, I think, from the Combine, but Cole's going to go through throwing to Bryce Lance and throwing to Raja Nelson and throwing to a couple of Chris Harris and a couple of others guys where he can pretty much – Cam Miller, I think, put the finishing touches on a really good run-up, and he didn't get invited to the Combine.
Right.
Peyton, I think, can do that. Bryce Lance, by the way, as the 97th overall pick to the Minnesota Vikings in this. So both would be day 2 picks.
That would be a steal if the Vikings got Bryce Lance. Can you imagine?
Well,
can you imagine that receiving core?
That'd be unbelievable.
Oh my goodness!
If the Vikings draft a Marshall, Minnesota native. Yes.
Like then that Kyler Murray deal doesn't look so bad.
But Cole Payton in the third round.
Yeah,
I mean, there were at this time last year, we were wondering, could Cole Payton throw it down the field?
I am
It'd be a third round pick.
Fascinated to see which head coaches show up tomorrow.
Yeah,
and GMs.
So we have had in the past we've had position coaches come, which that is normally, to me, Drew, when a position coach comes, that means the team is really interested.
Yes.
We had position coaches come a couple years ago when Sundell and Jake Kubis were going through it. Like, all right, and obviously both those guys end up getting signed and played in the NFL. Last year with Gray, it was a little different because obviously he went to the combine again. The hay was pretty much in the barn. This is different with a quarterback. Yeah, you're right. We're going to be live up there tomorrow. I'm really interested to see who's going to be here.
And I, it makes. I mean, just his athletic scores alone, like that
went through the roof.
Yeah. I mean, and the dude is amazing to watch. So I'm really fascinated. That's interesting. Third round. I mean, it's not a great quarterback draft, as everyone said. So it's and that would mean he was probably like the third, fourth guy off the board for quarterback. Yeah, at that point.
Let me just look. We got to roll here, but let me look at quarterbacks taken before. Obviously, Mendoza would be. Drew Aller is going earlier in this one from Penn State in the third round. Scanning here. Well, that would probably only mean that Simpson.
Third.
They have Simpson in the second round of the Jets. How's that worked out with the Jets drafting Alabama quarterbacks outside of Joe Namath? That's it.
I don't think the Jets are going to draft a guy this year at quarterback. I just don't. Like, why? Like, your guy's next year.
They would have Cole be the fourth quarterback off the board, which is what I've heard.
In the third round, like that's insane value. Like, I mean, that you're talking about, you could get a starter at so many positions.
One quarterback taken in the first round after they had, 6 last year or 2020? Well, it was 24. The McCarthy class of 24, there were 6 guys taken.
Yeah, when Bo Nix came off, and Penix, and no one knew what to expect with that class.
And that was Caleb Williams' class. It was just wild.
Well, see, and that sets the floor for Peyton. If people are saying he's a third rounder, then if a team really wants him, they're gonna have to jump up.
Right.
You have to start thinking like, that's really exciting stuff. That's so cool.
All right, we got to roll. Thanks again for coming by. Always appreciate it.
Happy to be here. Thanks
for Trafton joining us each and every Wednesday. Does it to chat the world of sports. We do it and we have some fun there. Let's break. We come back. We'll get you ready for the boys Class B. Starts tomorrow in Minot. One of my favorite nicknames, the Ray Jays. Head coach Mike Bergstrom will join us. We come back after this. Welcome back, everybody. Here's the schedule for the next 3 days. Memorize it because it's a busy one. Tip tomorrow, both in Fargo and Minot. The Boys B, you'll see all the quarterfinals live on WDAY beginning at 1. The Boys A quarterfinals will be here on Extra tomorrow from the Fargo Dome. Then semifinal Friday begins at 1 o'clock from Minot. You'll see all 4 games on WDAY. The Class A semis will be in prime time, and then we flip it on Saturday for the championship games with the A championship at 5 from the Dome and the B championship about 8 o'clock from Minot to wrap up the winter tournament season. This is the bracket in Minot. The number 1 seed, we met them yesterday in Central McLean. The Cougars will get Nelson County in the first game of the night session. The afternoon session, the tournament starts at 1 o'clock tomorrow with the second-seeded Ray Jays making their first trip to state since 1990. They'll take on the North Star Bearcats, the first game at 1 o'clock. It's great to have Ray head coach Michael Bergstrom back with us. I outed him with his text message he sent to me on Thursday after the region championship. But in all sincerity, congratulations. We talked in about a month ago, man. Now you're here. Describe what the last few days have been like.
Well, it's been exciting. It's our community is really excited. We had a pile of support through all year really, but through the tournament season we had a lot of support. Our community is excited. Our kids excited. We're excited, but we felt good about the region championship for a few days, but once the weekend hit, we started diving into North Star and getting ready for our next tournament. We have some lofty goals, and one of them was making the state tournament, but that wasn't the ultimate goal. So we still got work in front of us, and So
the guys pay attention to the release of the seeding, like when the state qualifier games were done, or did you just text them and say, hey, here's what we got, and this is when we're playing?
Well, I actually got the seeding before it was even public and before I could even get it sent out. A lot of the guys were sending it to me. So, yeah, they're definitely paying attention to it. I don't think we really necessarily cared where we're at or how the brackets were. We know what we need to accomplish, and so we're just kind of taking it one game at a time, like they always say. But yeah, they're definitely paying attention.
This is a generation, Michael, 36 years. That's I think that's the accurate definition of that. How big a deal is this for families that have not seen Ray play at the state basketball tournament? That's going to happen tomorrow.
Well, it's a pretty big thing in Ray right now. Ray J Land's a pretty good place to be right now. So, like I said, people are excited. There's a lot of reference to the 90 team. That had a big, kind of lore, I guess, in Ray. But no, this is the 2026 team, and these guys are pretty damn good too. So people are excited about it.
All right, you have the 1 o'clock game. Is that a thing or not a thing that you got to play right out of the chute?
The last two tournaments, the district tournament and the regional tournament, we played the first game each day. Like we kind of talked last time, we have so many kids that play so much basketball that, they could have the game at 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't think it would bother us. North Star also has to play at 1 o'clock too. So we don't have to sit around all day. We have a really good schedule for tomorrow to get us ready for the game. And so, we'll be ready to roll at 1 o'clock.
Well, I would push back just on the fact that, you're not sitting around waiting, right? Like that right. 8 o'clock, that one is to me is the dreaded one. What do you do all day? Instead, for you guys, you're right out of the chute and you're done.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. If you want it to be good, you can find ways to make it work in your advantage. Right. If you want it to be bad, you probably can find ways for that. And we're playing at 1 o'clock tomorrow. We're going to be ready to roll.
Tell me about how tough Region 3 was this year. 3 teams are there at the state tournament this season.
Well, I think since the 3 class started, it's been pretty clear that Region 3 is probably up to that point, it's been the strongest region. There's some really good programs, really good teams, really good coaches in this region. And, we knew going in with the goals that we had and what we wanted to accomplish that we had some pretty tough foes to have to get through. And, but the old saying, iron sharpens iron. And I know what we had to get after, to achieve what we wanted to achieve was, going to make us better. And I sure think it has.
Were you surprised at all that all 3 made it to the state tournament?
No. No. And that's no disrespect to anyone. Ryan and our Redeemers, this is their 3rd year in a row going to state. They know what it takes. Yeah. Those guys are as good as anyone defensively, and they're as coached as well as anyone. And so, no, it was not shocking.
I guess on the flip side, they have that experience. Your team does not. How do you counteract that? I know they've played a ton of basketball, but going inside that dome, and you guys have played up there, it's a different thing tomorrow afternoon. Yeah,
it is. I don't know. I guess we don't really think about it or talk about it. The kind of the old Hoosiers thing, the rims are 10 feet tall and it's a 94-foot floor. And I do think playing in the event center in Forebears, that's, obviously it's not the Minot State Dome, but it's a big arena. Yeah. The behind the hoops, there's a lot of space. It has a little different feel. And going back, like these guys have played in a lot of basketball in a lot of different gyms, big, small, and in between. So, we're not even really talking about it.
For people that have not seen your team, Michael, give us a couple guys that are going to pop on television tomorrow for the first time, maybe seeing your basketball team play.
Well, I think I think we play an exciting style. I think people like watching us play. We like getting up and down. We try to bring some pressure on defense. We like transition. Probably some of the names that, people heard a little bit. We got Ty Barman and Blake Bergstrom and Jace Becker, Brody Signer. Those 4 carry a lot of our weight, especially on the scoring side. So I think if I hear those names, but you're also going to hear Colton Grove and Grady Prezik and Cooper Hayes. They maybe don't get quite the recognition or the attention those other guys get, but they play a huge part into our team, and they all have a little bit different role and based on the matchups and what we need that day, and they're absolutely superstars in their role. But those 7 is kind of our rotation right now, and those will be the names that you'll be hearing quite a bit.
All right, so it's North Star. What do you know about the Bearcats and what that kind of challenge is going to be for you tomorrow afternoon?
Well, we know them pretty well now. We've spent a lot of time digging into them. They're big. They're pretty physical. I think they're a little bit more methodical in how they play than what we are. Their style is a little different than ours. But there's some similarities to some teams that we've seen this year that we think kind of play a similar style, and so we're going to take the same approach that we have with some of those other teams into this one.
Now, one of my favorite things on this day, the day before, is the send-off. Do you have a pep rally? Do you have anything planned? Like, what's the send-off for the team for you guys for later today?
Well, we're leaving at 6:00 tonight. We'll have a pep rally once towards the end of the school day. Then we're gonna have a practice. Then I would imagine that we're gonna have a pretty full send-off. We had a send-off before the regional championship game that was big, and I would anticipate this is going to be quite a bit bigger. But our community has been awesome. I can't really compare it to other communities because I haven't been in these moments. But I know for us, we got a whole area that is super excited about this team and very proud of this team. And I think that's maybe the thing that as a coach, kind of, sitting back and looking at this, there's a lot of people that are very proud of these guys because we didn't get here on luck.
Yeah.
This wasn't by chance or, people always say like, oh, you got to have a lot of things go your way to make the state tournament. One of them is luck. I think you make your own luck, and these guys have. So our community is really proud because it's not a secret what these guys have done to be able to get to this point and give themselves an opportunity. So I think they're really proud of the kids and proud to be Ray Jays right now.
Couple last things before we let you go. You're also dad. How are you balancing that this week of trying to soak it in and also, hey, we're going there on a business trip?
I've coached Blake so many games. There's times when, he has some recognition and I'm very much the coach in that moment. So looking back, but it's just kind of business as usual. We've done this so long with this same group. I mean, I've kind of coached these kids since 3rd grade in some fashion. and so there's been probably thousands of games that we've been together. At home, I'm dad. And when it's basketball time, I'm Coach Bergstrom. And both of us do a good job of separating that. But of course, I'm proud of him, but I'm proud of all these guys. I mean, there's some of these guys that I tell them all the time, I love them like a kid, and I do. And and Jace is my nephew, and Ty's been with. They're best friends, and Brody Snyder's a 4-year starter and 5-year on varsity. So there's been a lot of time with this group of kids, So yeah, it's special, but I think it'd be special whether my kid was on it or not.
Last thing, off of that, will you take a moment and you get in tomorrow before the game, look around, appreciate like the work that took to get there? Will you, for yourself personally, to soak it in before tip-off?
Yeah, I think so. Arlie Larson, he was an assistant on the 90 team. I talked to him about it. Matt Ray, our other assistant, he was in Colorado for a long time and went to 12 state tournaments in Colorado, and both their messages to me, like even before the season started, knowing that we're gonna have a pretty good run here, was to make sure to enjoy it. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. I don't know if anyone follows me on Facebook, but there was a post that was 4 years ago today and it had 3 of our guys, and it read something along the lines of they put in thousands of hours of work when no one's watching to hopefully get a chance to be at the state tournament for the whole state to watch.
Wow.
And I thought that was pretty fitting because that's kind of been the epitome of this team.
That's awesome. That's really neat. I appreciate the time, bud. Thanks so much for the time as always. Safe travels and good luck tomorrow afternoon, all right?
Thanks, Dom. Appreciate it.
Good to see you. There he goes. Michael Bergstrom joining us, head coach of the Ray Jays. They open up the State B tomorrow, 1 o'clock on WDAY against North Star. You'll see all the games live on WDAY, KBMY, KMCNY, WDAZ. Stream it at Inforum, WDAY+. Don't call me. The games are on. It's going to be great. We're looking forward to it starting tomorrow. We'll take a break here. We'll wrap up our first hour. Big second hour coming. Matt Norman from Central Cast going to join us coming up. And the Bison hit the podium in Buffalo. Back on Hot Mic here on a Wednesday morning after this. Welcome back, everybody. That's a live look at the Dome, which is now converted. I was there for Disney Ice on Saturday. Now ready for basketball here on a Wednesday. They do some good stuff up there. That is the new configuration for basketball. And I know the Dome gets a lot of slings and arrows as a basketball venue. They've actually improved it a ton. When we were up there 2 years ago for the first iteration of the 3-class system, and they had the Class A was there, and that was Devils Lake Kindred in the championship game. And I was one of the proponents, like, wait a minute, why are they not having it at the Shack? And we talked with Matt Fetch about that from the High School Activity Association. Like, and they's like, we don't think the Shack is big enough. And I scoffed at that. I'm like, come on, really? After seeing what we had for the 2023 title game when Fargo North played up there with Red River, which was amazing. It was a great environment. And I was wrong because that following year when it was Devils Lake Kindred, it was packed. It was a great environment. Now, will we have that this year? Maybe. I mean, the teams that are coming here for the Class A, and we're going to meet one of them coming up in our next hour, potentially, with Central Cass. Devils Lake is back again, and they always bring a ton of people. Four Winds is in it. I know they always travel really well, and this is their last go around as a co-op. Four Winds Minnewacan is dissolving after this year. Wahpeton is here. They always travel well. The Huskies will bring a ton of people for the final game. Dunseith is in the tournament for the first time. Turtle Mountain is here. So there's opportunities for rather large crowds at the Dome coming up at the end of the week. Let's do a couple of emails here before we break. I got two separate emails on Suarez. Yes, thank you. He plays for the Reds. I'm not up on my Cincinnati Reds knowledge here. I appreciate that. Dom, did you see Air Force is going to hire a coach? I did, actually. John Rothstein from CBS tweeted that out while we were in break, that Air Force is going to hire Penn State assistant Joe Crispin is going to take over. We mentioned Air Force yesterday as a potential for Dave Richmond. I'm not saying Dave wants to go anywhere. Dave's going to go anywhere. Just that his name should be out there if his agent wants it to be. Winning 27 games and going to the NCAA tournament for the fourth separate time, yeah, that's going to generate some significant buzz if it wants to be. Now, to me, on the home front, frankly, I was wondering what is his boss doing about an extension. Dave's deal is up after, unless there's something quiet that's gone down. And I've talked with both. From what I can gather, that has not happened. That would make some sense maybe to sign the guy to a long-term deal. Because nobody really goes in as a lame duck outside of apparently South Dakota. If you missed that news, Eric Peterson is going in as a lame duck into his final year. That both he and John Schemmel, the AD at South Dakota, agreed that they would go into the final year of the deal. So we'll see what happens there. But we'll hear from the Bison head coach coming up at the end of our next hour as the Bison will be on the podium in Buffalo. Let's break. We come back. We'll start our second hour. We'll check in with the Squirrels. Central Cass making its State A debut. Head coach Matt Norman back on the show. Will join us when we start right after this.
This is Hot Mic.
Hot Mic.
On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 of Hot Mic, ready to rock and roll here. You're looking at the Class A boys basketball bracket. That tips as well tomorrow at the Dome. Number 1 seed is Devils Lake, the champs in 2024, runners-up bitterly disappointed about that last year. They'll play Dunseith in the first game of the evening session. The day begins, though, at 1 o'clock right here on Extra tomorrow. Turtle Mountain, the 7th seed, against the 2nd-seeded Squirrels of Central Cass, who are back at state, making actually their State A debut. They won the last traditional Class B, as we know it, in 2023. And I apologize to our next guest because I think that might be the last time we've had him on. So I appreciate he didn't big-time me this morning. As Central Cass boys basketball coach Matt Norman joins us here on the show today. You just were mentioning you had the big pep rally. How'd that go this morning?
It was great. I think we had the pep rally because you actually had me on. That's why the school hosted it. So we were excited about it. No, it was fun. We did some wig snatching amongst the teammates.
Oh.
Everybody had a fake wig on and run around and see if whoever gets the wigs off wins. So it was fun. We had the elementary and the middle school there, so they're always loud and they love it. So we're just excited. Anytime you get a chance to play these last 3 games of the year, it's something you embrace and you just try to enjoy the moment a little bit.
So you've been through this before, but this is different. Does it feel different?
Each team each year is different, and so I know that's maybe a little bit cliche, but every year there are different variables. This time we play at 1 o'clock. We play in Fargo, so we're going to stay in our own beds. So there's it is the same in that it's a state tournament. We're going to play against great teams just like we did last time. We've played a number of the teams. I think that's an advantage for us, so we know a little bit more going in. It helps our prep work, both on the coaching staff and with the kids. But yeah, I mean, it's similar. It's a state tournament. There's going to be nerves. There's going to be excitement. And so we just try to manage those best we can.
How do you feel, Matt, the first couple years of 3 classes gone for Central Cass? Obviously, everybody looks at Kindred, Devils Lake have been the standard bearers. How have you guys adjusted now in year 3 to the 3-class system?
There's never a night off. When you're specifically last year where we were really young, we're still young this year, but last year we were very, very young. We only had 1 senior and we have 2 seniors this year. So there was no, rebound game. There was no, we got beat here, but tomorrow will be a little bit easier. And so the competition level is really, really high. I'm a little biased as a Class A coach, but I think it's the most competitive division in North Dakota. And the other thing that's really great from a program perspective is there's a lot more nights where we get, 3 games a night, where we get our sub-varsity teams, quality games, our C squad, our JV, and our varsity. And that matters a ton too. So it had some growing pains, but it was worth it. It was time. I love that we have it. I'd love to have more teams in it. But that's me. I just like to play a ton of people.
So tell me about turning it on at the right time. You lost the last game of the regular season to Oak Grove. Was that a wake-up call, or was that, hey, we had an off night?
I think it was definitely a wake-up call. I don't want to take anything away from Oak Grove. They beat us, and they beat us in their house. And it was a good reminder of making sure that we have to do this together. We're blessed to have a deep bench. We've been hammering that home all year. And the reason we love it is because together we can embrace some of this adversity that comes with basketball. Basketball is an imperfect game. Every play we look at, I can find something that somebody did right and something that somebody did wrong. And so there are going to be ebbs and flows, but we have to make sure that we stay centered and we honestly just put one foot in front of the other. I thought Oak Grove did a really good job of exploiting some tendencies that we had going up to that point. And we had to embrace that. We had to, take it on the chin a little bit and then have kind of that talk. Hey, you know what? You have a chance to be something special. And I don't think it's fair to our seniors for us to just say, well, we'll be better next year, or we'll try again next year, or any of that. And so credit to the boys. They really leaned in. They embraced it. We had really good conversations, really good practices after, and they put a great product on the floor. Coaches look smarter when their athletes can go out and execute. So we're thankful for that.
So on the outside, Matt, everyone saw Kindred lose to Valley City at the region tournament, and obviously it was shocking, but knowing Kindred was limited with a couple guys that weren't playing, you're there, you see that. Does that change your approach? Like, holy cow, that they're out of it, that now you guys are already the number 1 seed, but now you're the overwhelming favorite?
I don't know if we're the overwhelming favorite, but going into the region tournament, there were teams in that tournament that had beat us. We're fortunate enough to beat Kindred twice. One of those times, Baco was out with an ankle injury. but we beat them at full strength, and they beat teams that beat us. And so that's the beauty of any tournament, and the state tournament is no different. Anybody can beat anybody else, especially in that first game. And so that WAP game was huge for us, where we can go in there, get our get our nerves under control, and compete on the floor. And it's going to be no different at the state tournament. This 2-7 matchup, just like Kindred Valley City, it's a tough matchup. Turtle Mountain does a great job. They're very, very tenacious defensively, and they're super athletic. They got 4 kids in double figures. So we got to try to avoid those pitfalls.
Sorry about that. How much does it help? You played them. Granted, it was the middle of January, so it probably seems like it was a lifetime ago, talking about Turtle Mountain. But can you rely on any of that for what you're going to see tomorrow?
I think you can rely on some of it. It was a back-to-back game day. So we had played rugby the day before, and then we played Turtle Mountain. And yep, it was in January, but we still got a chance to see some of their athleticism and try to compete with them. And they honestly, they had us. We made a couple pushes down the stretch, and we're able to get ahead 62-60, and that's where it finished. But it helps us. We take a lot of pride and putting together as competitive of a schedule as we can. Athletic director, but Coach Lamar and I meet often to talk about, what does our schedule look like? How can we make sure that we're as battle tested as possible when we hit the region tournament time? And Turtle Mountain was somebody we were excited to play this year. And so we're excited to have the opportunity to play them again. And yep, teams change as we go through, but we got a lot of film working on them already, and so we're gonna give them our best.
Matt, for some of the viewers that are watching this or going to watch tomorrow and haven't seen your team play, give us a couple players that have stood out or will stand out on TV when they watch tomorrow.
Well, we always want to start with our captains. Easton Holland, Cash Lorenz, and Andrew Zimmer are our captains. They lead us offensively often. We rely heavily on our other players to score it as well. But, Easton provides us some length. He's left-handed. He's very athletic. He can finish contested. Cash is a basketball guy. His offensive skill set is really great. You can tell he's just been a gym rat, since the day he was born. And Andrew Zimmer, he's our point guard. We ask him to do a ton defensively, and he does a great job there. But he also shares it, and he can finish at the rim as well. And so, excuse me. And so we rely on them heavily, but we need Cole Boer to help shoot. We need Keegan Peterson to go out and guard and create energy. Zane Blix does the exact same thing. Ben Nelson is just as explosive as they come. Jackson Deutsch and Lucas Christensen add length and different. And so, we can go Blaze Cotton. We can continue down the list. And it's not because I just want everybody to have a shout out. I want everybody to know, that's how we win ball games. Yeah. We need all of those kids to come together in a common mission.
All right. So I was talking about before you came on about the Fargo Dome as a venue. What have you heard about it? And then is it a challenge playing in that arena tomorrow?
If it's a challenge, it's a challenge for all 8 teams. Mm-hmm. And so we're not big on excuses or any of those things. You know what? Like I told you earlier, we're blessed to be here, and so we'll play wherever you want. You want us to go play on an asphalt court? We'll shovel it off. We'll go play. It's a state tournament, So is it a bigger venue? Yep. The Shack's a bigger venue too. The Dome's obviously bigger, but we've historically traveled really well, and so we're going to have a lot of kids in the stands. In red and white, we're going to have a lot of parents, a lot of community members. Our student section is going to be there yelling and screaming. And so wherever we are, we're going to go get it. And you know what? If we end up short, we're still going to give it all the effort we can possibly give, all excuses aside. And so I like playing anywhere. The Dome's a new experience. I like when kids get on a state floor and it's something different. Yeah. And so we're going to embrace that.
So off of that, my next question is irrelevant, but I'll still ask it anyway. You have to play at 1 o'clock. Is that a thing? You're used to playing at 7. That the game time is all different tomorrow. Is that a deal or not really?
Not really. We had we had the early game in the region tournament on Tuesday, so we played at 6:30. We play Saturday games. We played them earlier before. We played them later. We had doubleheaders. Sometimes we start at 8. And so we just work out a schedule. My coaching staff is super organized. Brent Nelson has done a lot of our logistic stuff, and we come up with a couple scenarios and we flesh out a plan. And so we've got a tight knit schedule, which is good. It keeps kids in rhythm. We try to have practices as close to game times as possible. Obviously, we're in school today, so we're not going to get a 1 o'clock practice, but we'll practice as close to that 1 o'clock time as we can, because we got an early out today for parent teacher conferences. And so, yeah, 1 o'clock's a little different, but there's some good to plan at 1 o'clock. One, you're the 2 seed, and that's fun. But two, you know what? You can get those nerves right out the way.
Yeah.
Rip the Band-Aid off, go compete, and then you've got the rest of the evening to scout, reflect, and heal your body for the next day's competition.
How, for you doing this again, how much do you bank on 2023? Granted, it's a different team. I know it's different competition, but just you've gone through it before. Can you use that for the next couple days?
There's no substitute for experience. A lot of our coaching staff is the same from that 2023 push. So I think we do a good job of knowing how to manage time. And it helps having used the TV timeouts before, and the logistics of it helps. But the part that benefits us is if you go back and you watch our 2023 games at the state tournament, you can find our current roster sitting in the stands. And I'm in a coach's office and just kick the lights off. You can find our.
That's really cool.
You can find our current roster in the stands, and they're sitting together and they're yelling, they're screaming, they're cheering, and that's what high school sports is all about. That's teaching and coaching is worth its weight in gold, because you just get to be a part of somebody's experience. And so this is about those kids. They get a chance to go play on the big stage. We're excited and blessed to be a part of it, and we just want to embrace it.
That means for you, do you have like the Herb Brooks speech pair for tomorrow before game time, or you don't need that for the game tomorrow?
I don't know if you need that for tomorrow.
Yeah. Maybe Saturday if you make it?
Yeah, maybe Saturday if we make it. No, we always want to rally them. It's about reading them out, see where they're at. Helping them come into that arena in the morning in the shoot around, and just taking a moment to pause, breathe it all in, and try to get them centered. We want to be the aggressor when we're on the floor, but sometimes there's just a little bit too much pent up energy, and maybe a rah-rah from the coach isn't well placed or well timed. So it kind of depends on how we're feeling in that locker room before we go out there. But we want them excited.
You've played obviously a couple of these teams. Grade this feel. How good are the 8 teams, obviously yourselves included, that have made it here to state this year?
It's tough to find, and maybe I'm selective in my memory, but I feel like the gap between the top teams and the bottom teams is not as clearly defined as it has been in years past. I think there's a lot of teams that can really go out there and compete, and there potentially could be some upsets early, and that was our message right away. Even in 2023 when we drew Warwick, we knew they were on a hot streak. We knew they could play, and they went into the fourth quarter, and it was nail biting there for a little bit. And we were able to go on a 25-3 run, if my memory serves, and seal the deal. But when teams go to the state tournament, they have nothing to lose, and so regardless of who you're matched up against, we've got to be as prepared as possible. So I think the gap between the top teams of the state tournament seeding wise and the bottom teams is far closer than it is in many years.
Now, I'm not sure if you know, but basketball coaches' wardrobes is a hot topic on our show. You are one of the few that I believe, do you still do the sweater vest? And tell us the origination of that.
All right, so I'm not always a sweater vest guy, but I usually have a quarter zip and a tie.
There we go. That's all we're asking for.
Yeah, so we got parent-teacher conferences tonight, so we got our tie on now. But I believe that you should dress up for things that are important to you. I know that other coaches value ball and everything as much as I do, but that's just me. That's who I am, and so I'm gonna coach in a tie.
There we go.
Yeah, that's just my move. Now I got to have kind of my man girdle on that holds it all in, because I don't need to have a suit coat that I throw over the stands or a tie that gets in my clipboard and I try to tear it off. I look like an idiot as is. I don't need to add any fuel to that fire.
So That's smart. That's planning ahead because like if you're invariably you're going to get up, you're going to run on the sideline. You can't have that.
We don't
thing
run. We try
around.
not to run.
But you can't have the tie just flapping around, man. That's no good for anybody, right?
Yeah. Hey, we got to control our variables. There's only so many things we can control. My tie getting in the way, that's one of them.
Last thing, we visit a little bit off air on this about balancing of going and staying here in Fargo or going back and back home each night. Can you talk a little bit about that, about how that decision process was made?
Yeah. So, when we're this close to the Dome, I understand that staying in a room is it's really exciting, especially at the state tournament. That's part of the experience. But there's also part of the experience that is consistency and controlling those variables. And so if we can sleep in our own bed, if we can make sure that we have some time to decompress, and I'm a social creature, right? If I'm in a room with my friends or even with, we're sitting there with coaches, well, let's just watch one more film or let's just break down one more game. And sometimes that leads to a little bit of lack of rest, at least in my experience. And so we kind of like the idea of staying in Castleton. We're going to drive, and we've got our schedule planned out where we kind of eliminate unnecessary trips into Fargo or eliminate trips that we could do here in our own building when it comes to shoot-around stuff. We got our own gym, and that's a blessing. And so we want to make sure that we embrace that.
It's great to see you, bud. I really appreciate you doing this, and good luck tomorrow, and thanks for not big-timing me and coming back on the show after 3 years, okay?
Hey, anytime. I appreciate all you do. Thank you. We're excited. It's a great time to be a squirrel, so we're going to go out and we're going to compete. So thanks again for having us on.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it, bud. Matt Norman joining us, Central Cass boys basketball head coach. The Squirrels match up the first game out of the chute tomorrow with Turtle Mountain. That'll start our coverage at 1 o'clock right here on WDAY Extra. You'll see all 4 quarterfinals here, and then on Friday, they move the semifinals to primetime at 6:30 and 8:15, and then the championship game at 5 at the Dome. I'll just tell you right now, the north side is going to be really busy tomorrow with Pro Day going on at NDSU in the morning time. Then the Bison women play tomorrow night. We'll give you some more TV info on that when we come back from our next commercial break. They play at 7, and then obviously the Dome has everything going on. The old get there early is probably going to be needed to be reminded of everyone, but should be fun and looking forward to it. Honestly, we saw the live look at the Dome. It's fine. I know the Beezers have a huge problem with playing there, and that was the last time that we had the Bee in Fargo was 2014, and that was the old setup, and frankly, the old lighting in there. They've made it so much better. The B will never come back here, and that's fine. To rotate it between the A and the double A is fine because, frankly, the Class B should be in Minot and Bismarck every other year. That for the boys B, every other year. That's fine. But the Dome is okay to host. They've put money in. They're going to keep investing in it as well. And I think the teams that have been there. Dustin Brodina from Devil's Lake, when we talked with him about it a couple years ago, he loved it. I think the Kindred folks enjoyed it as well. More often than not, you get a pretty positive reaction out of the teams that have gone there, and I'm sure that'll be the case again this coming weekend. All right, let's get a break in here. We come back. We'll get a couple other items in. The St. Thomas men had their season ended last night in the NIT. Got a couple emails on that. Much more on Hot Mike on WDAY Extra right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Wednesday morning show rolls on. Hey, tomorrow, busiest sports day in recent memory. Hot Mike will be live at Bison Pro Day. That is a tradition unlike any other. We've done that, I think, 5 years running. We will continue that tomorrow. Star-studded guest lineup on anticipating Tim Polisic's going to join us probably right off the hop. Cole Payton's QB coach, Jake Heaps, used to be Russell Wilson's QB coach, is going to join us. Just got that confirmed here in our last commercial break, so that's pretty cool. Jory Collins is going to be there tomorrow, right across the way, as the Bison women play tomorrow night. Didn't Jory do that last year with us? Maybe the last couple years Jory's been over there. So Jory will be there at the indoor facility tomorrow. And then also Steve Lockway will be there because his quarterback, Jack Strand, is going to be at Bison Pro Day tomorrow. And that tells you enough that the scouts want to see him throw. So obviously they want to see Cole do his thing, but Jack Strand has got some NFL buzz around him, so Lockway's going to join us as well on the show tomorrow. So really looking forward to that. That's one of my favorite shows of the year that we do at Pro Day. The drills are supposed to start at 10. Sometimes we've got it, sometimes we haven't. We'll see, because I remember we waited. Remember Christian Watson? We waited. I thought we were going to get it on the air. And I think Watson actually started when we wrapped up, or pretty close to when we were done. And that it was 2022. Gosh, that was a lot of time ago. That when we were up there for Pro Day. So that's coming up on the show tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Email comes in. Dom, did you stay up last night to watch the St. Thomas NIT game? I can say to you, no, I did not. I saw the start of it. I did not see the end. St. Thomas lost last night to Seattle University. What was it? It's by 15, I want to say. St. Thomas, it was held to 52 points last night. 67-52 was the final score, which ugly end to the regular season, or to the season for St. Thomas. After their best game was against North Dakota State, that next to last game of the regular season. They couldn't miss. They blew the Bison out by 24. After that, they played okay against South Dakota State at the Summer League tournament. Obviously lost to UND, and I still don't know what happened in that game against UND. And then last night, what happened to them is how you lose, is how they get beat. They were 5 of 22 from three-point range last night. Carter Bierke, their big guy, who had, I think, 8 threes against the Bison, was 1 of 5. Minnesota had 15 points, was 5 of 13, turned it over 4 times. St. Thomas had 21 turnovers last night. That's how you lose. But they've got some decisions to make and how much they want to spend to bring their roster back, because Minnesota is going to leave. I can't imagine he stays. He's got 2 years left. Some say he should have been the Summit League Player of the Year. He averaged 20 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He will get paid by someone. Maybe it's St. Thomas, but I would anticipate they have lost their best player each of the last couple of years prior to this season. Minnesota, Barnstable left, and I'd argue he might have been their best player last year. Nick Janowski, the transfer from Nebraska, has 3 years left. He was great as well. Could have been a first-team player. Averaged 16 points. Isaiah Johnson-Arrigo, who's already transferred now twice over because he started his career at Miami, then was at Iowa, and then St. Thomas. Bierke's got 1 year left. I don't see Carter Bierke going anywhere. He's a Wayzata kid. I think he stays. Ben Osterbahn, who's another big guy, he's got a couple years left. Austin Hero already transferred from South Carolina to St. Thomas. I didn't mean multiple transfers mean nothing anymore. The Bison have a handful of them on their roster this year. But it'll be really interesting to see what the Tommies do. I think you cannot overestimate the level of confidence they had that this was going to be the year. When we had Johnny Tower on before the Bison game in mid-January, and obviously they had high expectations. They made it the Summit League Championship last year. Now the first year of eligibility with this kind of team and the way they played in the non-conference and the way they played for a majority of the league, that they were going to go to Sioux Falls, they were going to win 3 games, and they would be the ones getting all the notoriety this week. And instead, it ended in mind-numbing fashion against a UND team that they were more talented than and got beat. And then, surprisingly to me, they got an NIT bid. I didn't think they would get in, and then did not have a great performance. And you wonder about that. And I'll talk about this with the Bison women after our next break on level of attention and level of intensity for postseason tournament. When you miss out on the grand prize, what is the motivation level to come back? You have destinations for those 2 St. Thomas guys? Is this inside info? Or is this your guessing?
This is me guessing.
Okay.
Here, but just based on kind of looking at Minnesota's offers, he was offered by St. Thomas, Green Bay, South Dakota State, but obviously he's played his way up.
You guys.
So I'm thinking, and he's from like the Milwaukee, Madison area. So like Marquette, I know they're trying to reinvigorate their basketball program. Wisconsin, obviously.
Well, they already got Rhodey from St. Thomas indirectly. So,
so there's a connection. Like those 2 are teammates, so they could reach out. And then
Janowski would make Wisconsin would make a ton of sense there.
But he's a Pewaukee kid.
Right.
So he could go to Marquette too. Like Marquette, Wisconsin, you got to keep your eyes on those.
Okay.
Because those are both two pretty good players.
They were great players for St. Thomas this year. We'll see. Already yesterday, Uzziah Bunton, the great freshman guard from South Dakota, went in the portal. It's just, I tweeted this out. Get ready for the steady stream. It's coming. And the portal doesn't even open until early April, but it doesn't mean that you can't announce that you're going in, and it's already started there. Who was Janowski offered by? Outside, he went to Nebraska out of high school, and obviously didn't play there.
Outside of Nebraska, it was Georgia Tech, Iowa, Iowa State, USC,
come on,
Virginia Tech, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Interest shown from Missouri, Texas, UCLA, Virginia, and Marquette. Oh, Marquette had an offer.
Well,
so, I mean, those are pretty
different
high
staff though
schools.
now, correct?
What was that?
A different staff at Marquette though now, right?
No, Shaka Smart's still there.
Okay.
So
we'll
they're
see.
trying to get back into the NIL game this year after a bad year.
Got to spend some money if you want to get some guys. We'll see who comes back to St. Paul. All right, let's break. We come back with some info on the Bison women's game tomorrow. Again, we're standing by. The Bison are set to meet the media, Dave Richmond and players, at about 10:50. We'll carry that before we wrap up the show here this morning. Back on Hot Mic right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Final 22 minutes or so of our show. Again, about 10 minutes out, we will pick up the start of NDSU's media availability in Buffalo. Our Riley Swenson is there. He'll be reporting for the next couple days. Look for live reports coming up throughout the next couple days from Buffalo, which the weather for the boys that went and for anybody that's going is very Fargo-esque. Just look at the old Storm Tracker app, which Western New York, honestly, I could tell you, just my dad will corroborate this, that typically whatever we get here, about 2 or 3 days later, it's exactly the same because we're on almost the same latitude lines, and I'm getting way beyond over my skis here on meteorological terms. Yeah, it's 29 degrees in Buffalo today. Feels like 20. So Bison should feel right at home, and the fans there as well. I know they're having a get-together for people that are making the trip out. I'd be really interested to see what that is because I've had the pleasure of going to a couple of these. The first one in Minneapolis will never be topped because it was Minneapolis. And the amount of fans, there was a pregame party at the Armory in downtown Minneapolis that anybody was there in 2009. It was hopping. And obviously that took over the Metrodome later that day. When the trip to Columbia in South Carolina was, again, so different because the Bison played in the first four. They actually played on this day, on a Wednesday, hopped in an airplane, then flew from Dayton to Greenville, South Carolina to play, or Columbia, South Carolina, to play Duke on a Friday night. That was impressive. The amount of people that actually made the trip there was pretty darn cool. Again, it was Mike Krzyzewski and Duke. And again, the Bison are matching up with another blue blood here with Michigan State and Tom Izzo coming up tomorrow, 3 o'clock. TNT will have coverage of the game. Let's get a couple other items in here we haven't yet. If you missed it early this morning, we're going to have a WNBA season, which is great. WNBA CBA includes a $7 million salary cap. They have made that work, so there was talk of potential losing games. Obviously, it's a huge year of the WNBA. There's 2 new teams coming in Toronto, and Portland, I believe, is the other one that will be having franchises this year. They've got their new TV deal as well. That's a big, big deal. So that will start, and on time, not losing any games. The season's set to start on May the 8th for the WNBA. I've got a bunch of questions on this as well, and we'll do this before we wrap and get an early break in so we can catch as much of the Bison at the podium as possible. So tomorrow night, Bison women are at home with Chattanooga in the opening round of the WBIT. If you're asking me what that is the third year of this tournament that is completely put on by the NCAA. It is a 32-team tournament with 8 teams in a bracket. Bison are the 1 seed in their bracket and will host as long as they keep on winning up until the semifinal round which would be in Wichita, Kansas. There's a neutral site for that that they'll go to if they're able to win. The games are all broadcasted on ESPN Plus. But here's the caveat for us. We are able to broadcast. We'll produce the game. So it'll be myself and Amy Rulli will be on the call. So it'll be like you've been watching Bison games before. But with ESPN's graphics and all of that. But it'll be our camera operators, our graphic operators, audio, the whole 9 yards. But it'll be exclusive on ESPN Plus. It will not be on Extra. So for those wondering if we can carry the game, we can't because the tournament is exclusive on all ESPN platforms. So that's where you'll find the game. If you're looking for it, for those who have been begging me, why are the Bison not on ESPN Plus anymore? Well, if you kept your subscription, you can now watch the game tomorrow night. It will not be on Extra. It will not be on WDAY Plus, anything, or the Midco. It will not be on the Summit League Network. It will not be there. ESPN Plus, and they will have the exclusive rights of those games all the way through. I believe television doesn't pick up until the semifinal round, so it's streaming only for the first couple rounds. But you'll see it. I was up at the Shack yesterday doing some interviews. They have signage up that is different than – this is a different deal, folks, than the WNIT. The WNIT was you had to pay to get in, and you didn't know when the games were going to be played. You didn't know who the opponents were going to be. You didn't even know if you were going to host. This is a much more organized deal. It is a much more structured deal, and there's just a whole different vibe, you want to say, or different attitude around this tournament than we are accustomed to with the WNIT over the last 3 years. Yeah, this is a photo I took yesterday when I was up at the Shack. The logos are down. They're going to be all around the arena. You won't be able to miss it for those going to the game tomorrow or watching it tomorrow. So that's going to be a definite change for those that'll be in attendance or watching tomorrow. It's a different feel, and I think for the Bison players, they're certainly ready for it. All right, we're going to do What to Watch early so we don't have to interrupt the Bison coming up. We come back. So let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. What to Watch is brought to us by our friends at Northwestern Mutual. Okay, we've got a great sports day coming up. The Wolves again are in action against the Jazz at 7 o'clock on FanDuel Sports North. Again, no Anthony Edwards. See if they can make it 2 in a row tonight. The women's tournament begins. The Nebraska women play Richmond tonight. That's at 6 o'clock on ESPN2, I believe. Logan Nisley, Bismarck's own, in action. That's against Richmond at 6 o'clock. And day 2 of the first 4 on the men's side, Miami of Ohio against SMU. For those of you that found True TV, you'll need it again tonight, 8:15 for that one on True TV. So that's the lineup of games coming up tonight. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll hear from the Bison on the podium in Buffalo as they get ready for their matchup with Michigan State. We'll wrap up Hot Mike for a Hump Day Wednesday. We'll do that right after this. All right, wrapping things up here on a Wednesday morning. Again, tomorrow we're live up at Bison Pro Day. Looking forward to that. With a cavalcade of guest stars to join us. We got guest stars here in the studio from Midcoda, right? You guys are from? Eric, put them on TV so they can get embarrassed. There they are. Hi, guys. Welcome. Thanks for coming in. I was telling Maddie, by the way, give her a hard time about the our Little Debbie contest because she didn't have. You didn't have the Christmas tree deal in there, which is ridiculous. But appreciate you guys coming by. Looks like the Bison basketball team is about to sit down and meet with the media, so we're going to pick that up here for at least the last few minutes of the show, and then we'll come back and say goodbye. Here are the Bison in Buffalo.
Treat it that way, too. All right, in the back.
Matt Majinski with College Basketball Review. Damari, from redshirting, you had starter minutes the year before. Take the year off. What did you learn in that time off heading into this season?
Just looked at it as like a mental thing, being able to watch it from a coaching perspective, you know what I mean? And pretty much that's all it was to it. And it worked out for us, and then, Right here?
Yep. Ryan Powell, the Summit League. Noah and Andy just talked about getting Damari back this year and the difference that kind of made for the season, and just you guys having the year that you did with a lot of new bodies and some returners too.
Yeah, obviously it was really big for us, both on and off the court. On the court to have someone back that had a lot of experience, starting at that guard position and really helped to lead us. And then off the court, like you said, we had a lot of new guys come in. So be one of the main guys to, bring those guys into the team, into the family, and, show them how we do stuff.
Yeah, I would say too, just him taking the year off last year, he was still very involved with the team and just giving advice at practice, kind of always in our ear. Even though he wasn't playing, he was still like that, played a big role in that.
Okay, right here. Chris Solari, Detroit Free Press. Damari, a question for you. You grew up in the Chicagoland area, and I'm wondering how much you knew about Jeremy Fears when you guys were coming up. I think you may be a year ahead of him. And what have you seen on tape about him as a player that can be maybe, I guess, good and bad for you guys?
I say they like to push the ball in transition, so we need to make sure we're on top of that. You know what I mean? And them as a team in general, they're big, physical, and we need to match that as much as we can to make it a game for us.
You guys know each other at all?
Not really personally. Probably like friends of friends, stuff like that.
All right, up front here.
From the forum, Travion, just talk a little bit about watching some Michigan State film and what do you see on film? What's going to be the challenges for you guys tomorrow?
Just limit them in transition, like Mari said. I mean, they're a big athletic team. They like to push the pace, so just trying to contain them as much as we can, do our thing.
All right, here in the hat here, sir.
Luke Taylor, Full Court Network. We had your coach on last week on one of our shows, and we asked him a question. He says he's terrible at this answer, so I'm going to ask you guys, what is the song that best describes him?
Travion, you want to go first? I'll go right down the line.
Yeah, we got to start with Mari.
All right, we'll start at that end.
Shit. I'll probably say some type of country song, bro. Any like blue collar, stuff like that. All that kind of stuff is him, bro. Anything like that.
Yeah, I'd say like country or maybe like Thunderstruck. That's kind of like our school song.
Yeah, I would say that one too. He loves that song.
Yeah, Thunderstruck for sure.
All right, up front here.
No other forward Cohen car. I think a 51-inch vertical jump. Can you imagine such a thing, and what kind of challenges that present?
Yeah, definitely a different type of athlete than we really see in our league. So like TC kind of said, we got to just work to contain that. A lot of it's going to be on the offensive rebounding. We got to make sure we make hits on him so he's not getting any putbacks. And then in transition, building those walls on all of their guys because they really like to push the ball.
And up front here.
We've covered this before, Noah, but what changed for you when you went from being a starter to coming off the bench and eventually the sixth man of the year in the league? Was there something with you that changed, or what happened there?
Yeah, I think maybe there's a little bit of a shift of a mentality making that change. I feel like the first half of the year or so I was kind of just surviving. I wasn't really living much, wasn't having a bunch of fun, and I think that translated to how I was playing on the court. So making that switch, I think, helped me a lot and kind of found myself to be comfortable in that role. Coming in a couple minutes into the game, and just it worked for all of us. So.
Yeah, up front.
Damari, you guys haven't been in the tournament, but do you still feel like you have a veteran presence about your team?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think we just got a really mature group here, and I think that's the biggest thing going forward for us.
Okay. Anything else for the student athletes? Okay, we're good. Thanks, guys, and good luck tomorrow.
I think Dave's going to come up here. All right, so there it is with the Bison men's players. You had Damari Wheeler-Thomas, Noah Feddersen, Travion Carson, and Andy Stefanowicz up there to be with the media. Dave Richmond's availability will start here in a few minutes, probably after we're off the air. Probably actually going to start here, but we'll get to that. You'll see it on the news tonight. We'll have some clips of it tomorrow during Pro Day. It's not going to be all football during our show tomorrow. It can't be with the Bison men's basketball team playing in the NCAA tournament. You'll also hear from Tom Izzo on the show. Michigan State's availability comes up after the Bison. They are on the court here in about 45 minutes for their shoot-around. So they're there all business, as you expect. This isn't a sightseeing and eyes wide open trip. They're going there to win a basketball game, and we'll see what happens with this matchup coming up tomorrow at 3 o'clock against a Michigan State team that is a 16-point favorite that comes in. They've won 25 games with great length, and it's going to be a heck of a matchup, a heck of a challenge, I should say, for the Bison to match up with a Big Ten team that, frankly, comes in like lost their last couple games. Tom Izzo already said it earlier this week that they were some of his seniors maybe looking ahead in the Big Ten tournament for another shot at Michigan, and they got beat by UCLA. So there's already that over there. Now, the Spartans have been tripped up before. I'm not totally organically on my feed today was from 10 years ago when Michigan State as a 2 seed. I remember we were in Minot, and I'm watching Michigan State as a 2 got beat by Middle Tennessee State as a 15. So it's not on the realm of possibility. Bison are going to have to play perfect tomorrow and have some things go their way like they did when they beat Oklahoma at the tournament back in 2014. But we can't wait. Much more on that coming up on our newscast tonight at 6 and 10, and of course throughout the day tomorrow, getting ready for the game against the Spartans. That'll wrap up our show. Our thanks to Mike Bergstrom for joining us, to Matt Norman and Drew Trafton. Missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. We will leave you with sights of Buffalo as they get ready for the NCAA tournament tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great Hump Day Wednesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow.